it comes to high achievers trying to shut down at the end of a day, it can be rough. I mean, really rough. Hello, welcome to Maximum Performance. I'm your human performance expert, Brad Valancourt. Now, when it comes to high achievers trying to shut down at the end of a day, it can be rough. I mean, really rough. Sometimes you get to sleep but can't get that deep enough sleep. And then when you go to wake up in the morning, you've got absolutely no energy. Maybe you can't even get to sleep until the wee hours of the morning, and that screws you up in when it comes to your hormones. That screws you up in so many different ways, including your hormones. So today we're going to talk about the different stages and what we can do about it and what's happening to us when we don't follow what our body really needs in those stages. Maybe you're like Ken. Ken had a hell of a time trying to fall asleep. I mean, it was hell. This guy was working so much that his stress levels were so high, he could not shut down. So maybe you're like him. Here's what he had to do. We had to get him to, one, balance out his cortisol levels so that they would peak at the right time. For him, it was between 10 and about 20 to 11 p.m. So between 10 and 11 p.m., his cortisol level, which is an anti-stress hormone, that needs to be at its peak. And then at its lowest, around 7, 8 o'clock, particularly for him, 8 o'clock in the morning. Why does that matter? Because when it gets too high too early, then you get what's called that second wind. How many times have you been at a party and you're just exhausted? Just, oh, come on, honey, let's just go. And then within about 15, 20 minutes, all of a sudden everything's perked up and you are ready to go. You're ready to go dancing. Let's go, right? That second wind is the cortisol. That's a cortisol spike. And that's used for basically when we're under stress. And that's it. But when cortisol levels are too high for too long, that's when insulin just goes through the roof. Because in order for us to bring down cortisol, the best way that we can do it is to spike our insulin. And that's why when people are feeling stressed, what do they reach for? It's certainly not broccoli. No, it's ice cream, cheesecake, chocolate. Something that's going to spike it. Even if it's something like chips, right? That's going to spike your cortisol as well. So if you're having a tough time falling asleep, let's take a look at how many times you feel that second wind. Do you feel that once a week? 5 times a week? When? How often? These are going to be huge. You want to make sure that you only use cortisol at its highest peak when you absolutely need to. So for Ken, when his cortisol levels peaked too high, then we had to do something about it. And for him, it was hydration. His cortisol would fly off the handle really easily because he was dehydrated most of the time. Sure, he'd drink a lot of fluids throughout the day, but that fluid was coffee. And when you're stressed and you start drinking more and more coffee, you get more and more dehydrated. We don't need that dehydration. That's going to spike your cortisol, that's going to screw up your insulin, and that's going to mess up your sleep royally. So what we did with Ken was we measured out how much he needed as far as water goes. Not coffee, but water. One rule of thumb is that for every cup of coffee that you drink, you replace that same cup with water. And that will get you back to 0. So if you have one average size cup of coffee, then immediately afterwards, you start drinking water of that same size, that same amount. And that'll help. But it's not the total answer. You've got to drink water throughout the day. When you drink water throughout the day, you're going to notice that you're feeling so much more energetic. You've got more even keel energy throughout the day. So when it comes time for you to actually sleep at night, you're going to want to sleep and not be tossing and turning all night like Ken. Another thing, if you cannot fall asleep at night, if you can't shut your brain off, no problem. What you're going to do is a brain dump, right? Take a pen and paper, not your computer, not your phone, but a pen and paper. Just empty out whatever words are coming to you in your brain. It might be in sentence form, it might be in point form, or just random words. It doesn't matter. What does matter is you getting those words on a piece of paper. And then when you're done writing, crumple up that piece of paper and toss it in a nearby wastebasket. When you do that, your brain starts to solve problems instead of mulling it over round and round and round in your brain when you're trying to sleep. Now, maybe you're like Tammy. Tammy is very high energy, naturally high energy, has a lot that the brain can handle. However, when it comes time to getting up in the morning, her cortisol levels are so low that it's screwing up her serotonin, and she's got absolutely no energy for at least an hour to 2 hours. And that's only because she has it stimulated through coffee and other stimulants instead of naturally waking herself up and having lots of energy first thing in the morning. Now, if you're having troubles getting up in the morning, you're going to want to do something to get your cortisol levels to come up naturally a lot faster. For high achievers who can't wake up in the mornings, typically they've got no appetite for a certain amount of time. Half hour maybe, whatever that time is, it doesn't matter. We need some nutrients in you right away. And your body's not going to be able to handle a lot. This is an important key. Your body's not going to be able to handle an entire breakfast. So here's what you do. You start off with just a couple of almonds first thing in the morning. Raw, definitely unsalted, rinsed. Okay, rinse them before you eat them. That's important because the natural acid that's on them does not go well with our digestive system. So rinse them off, dry them off, and then pop a couple in your mouth. It's all it takes. Start with 2. The next week, try 3. If you start to get hungry, then go to 4. But if you're still feeling kind of satisfied, then stay with 3. It doesn't take much, but these are going to be huge when it comes to making that shift so that your cortisol levels can get to the level where they need to be. Remember, if they're too low first thing in the morning, you're dragging your ass. We don't want that. We want to make sure that when you wake up with some vigor, you're ready to go and tackle your day. Now, after you've had those almonds, one thing that will certainly help out with your ability to focus is to come up with a list of things that which you're grateful for. And it doesn't have to be a huge list. 3 to 5 things, it's all. But by doing that, you get your brain going in a positive fashion, right? You start thinking about wonderful things that have already happened or that you know that you're attracting, so you put that down, even if it has yet to come to fruition. Just be grateful for having that in your life, for having the opportunity that you're making for these things to happen and for the things that you've had happen. Maybe it's your children, right? Maybe it has something to do at work with a new client, or maybe an existing client who really helped you out. Whatever it is, jot those things down first thing in the morning, right after you've had the almonds. Now, next thing after the almonds, we want to balance out your pH. Okay, we want to balance that out nicely. So what we're going to do is we're going to have you drink either lemon or lime in your water, and use about a quarter of either one. Put it in there for an entire full-size glass of water, which you can handle, and just enjoy that drink. Down it to the best of your abilities, and that's going to help rebalance your pH so that you're more of an alkaline state. If you're in an alkaline state, it's much easier for you to attract certain nutrients into your body. It's a lot easier for you to keep a certain weight management happening, and it's way better for you to have that steady energy throughout the day. So remember, after you've had your almonds, definitely have some lemon and or lime in your water. Then you can go for your coffee. Making these little tweaks are going to be huge for you. You're going to notice within 7 days. 7 days is all it's going to take. Now, maybe you're somebody who wakes up in the middle of the night, right? Are you somebody who wakes up, whether it's to go to the bathroom or whatever? If you're waking up typically between 1 and 3 a.m. every day, then that's going to screw up with your liver regeneration. Your liver regenerates between 1 and 3 a.m. every day. And it's got to clean itself out. It's got to get itself ready for the day. If you're awake, it's not going to do a very good job. And you're going to notice it. You're going to get a lot more irritable. It's going to mess around with certain hormones, particularly with estrogen levels and cortisol. If you're waking up at any point in time throughout the night because you're going to the washroom, is it because you're drinking too much later in the day? Maybe you need to start drinking more throughout the earlier part of the day and taper off just a little bit sooner. Maybe it's certain stimulants in your system. I mean, it could be a number of different things. This is just a couple of tips for you. If you find yourself waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. and it's not normal for you to do that, then you're looking at stress. Because when your stress levels get too high, you get all these ugly free radicals that just bombard your lungs. And between 3 and 5 a.m., that's when your lungs, they regenerate at that time. Really important for them to do that, and they can't if it's got too many free radicals inside the lungs. What helps with that? Vitamin C. Whether you take it in food or supplement form, the vitamin C will help your system to clear out those free radicals. So what do free radicals do? Well, aside from screwing up with your immune system, energy levels, stuff like that, they make you age faster. Yuck. We don't want that. Ugh, disgusting, right? Are you somebody who gets too hot or too cold at night? Are you sleeping with a partner who is on the opposite end of the extreme? So maybe you need to find something that will work for you. In Europe, what a lot of couples do there is they have their own blankets. They sleep in the same bed, but just have their own blankets so that the thicker one is on the colder person and vice versa. If you're sleeping with somebody who is a loud sleeper, right, you're very sensitive to noises and they move around a lot or they snore, that can be tough. So then you may want to try to figure out a solution for that. There are lots of different solutions that you can try. Figure out what's going to work best for you. But you getting your sleep is extremely important if you're going to want, 1, a happy marriage, 2, be creative in your work, and 3, enjoy a fulfilled life. Now let's go over all these again. 1, if you can't get to sleep at night, maybe you need to take a look at why your brain won't shut off and start doing a brain dump. Write on a piece of paper and just empty out your brain. Another thing that you are going to want to do is make sure that you're going to sleep at the same time each day and wake up at the same time each day. That will help your hormones so that you have a lot more even keel in type of energy throughout your entire week. If you have no energy first thing in the morning, that could mean that your cortisol levels are too low and you need some energy. You need a boost in the morning. So don't have a full breakfast and don't start with stimulants like coffee. Instead, have just a couple of almonds. Make sure that they're rinsed. And then from there, you have lemon and lime in your water. 1 full glass, and then go on and have your coffee, tea, whatever stimulant that you like to have. By doing that within 7 days, you'll know a huge difference in your energy. You really will. Now, if you're waking up between the hours of 1 and 3 a.m., then your liver's not regenerating the way that it needs to. We got to do something about that. If it's because you have to go to the washroom, then you have to take a look at your water intake throughout the day. Maybe you need to adjust that, the time, the amounts. Maybe it's the amount of stimulants that you have. Play around with that. If you're waking up between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m., then you've got a lot of stress to take care of. And you got to get to the root cause of that. When you do that, the amount of free radicals come way down. And remember what I said about how all these free radicals quicken the aging process? Yeah, quickly get those free radicals out. And remember to get that grateful log in there first thing in the morning. Jot down everything that you're grateful for. You don't need a lot. You don't need 50. Just jot down what you're really appreciative of in your life. Thank you so much. Make sure that you share this so that your friends, family, the ones that are bugging you the most because of their sleep patterns, that one friend that you have that just can't get any sleep and all they do is yak about it, now you've got an answer for them. Make sure to tell them, tell anyone else, and use this for yourself. It's going to help you out in 7 days, I promise you. This is Maximum Performance. I'm Human Performance Expert Brad Valancourt. Thank you so much.